All right, you beautiful bastions of freedom. I know it's late, but we need to focus in, hone in, because I've got to show you something that broke about an hour and a half ago. It turns out that just groups of people, just all the rage right now, just can't have their gun rights because of one reason or the other. We're going to walk you through the entire thing, but this one is not the transgender thing that I told you guys about earlier. This one is about a DC Circuit decision that literally just said an entire group of people can't have their gun rights for the stupidest reason on the planet. And I wanted to bring it to you tonight because this is something you guys need to be aware of. So let's burn the midnight oil. Let's make this happen. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on as you guys get in here. Make sure you hit those emojis, those likes, those comments, those chats, because we have got a country to save and we're going to do it together, damn it. And while you're here, make sure you check out the Second Press. Now, the Second Press is a movement, and quite frankly, I'm looking for special people to partner with. This is not for everybody at this point. This is for the special people who want to create change, who want to change the culture for the better in our country and our Second Amendment rights and defeat the gun-controlling leftists. There is so much that we are doing with this, I can't even get into it in a short little snippet. This is something that I'm looking to partner with the right people out there in the audience, and I know you guys are out there. So check it out. There's a link in the description box below. Check out all the benefits, everything we have going on, and I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain, and thank you guys for supporting it, those that you already have. All right, let's get into this, people. We got to talk about something. Wow, a lot of people are in here for this late in the evening. Thank you, guys. I did not expect that. All right, there's the emojis, the chats, everything. I love it. 3 vids today. Well, technically it's 2 long form and 1 live. I try to do that as a normal cadence. But let's get into what I want to show you while we're kind of doing a little bit of warm-up fodder. You guys remember that thing, that whole transgender ban that the DOJ floated today? Which, by the way, I would like to throw out there as a credit to the population of the Second Amendment advocates. We very rapidly and very quickly condemned it from on high in multiple creator channels, multiple large accounts, multiple national orgs. We passed our test yet again, staying true to the mission and the principle. Amazing job, guys, because I saw that echoed sentiment with you guys as well. But this one, you done goofed when you get far lefties at the Human Rights Campaign to come out in basically support of gun rights. Listen to this. Laurel Powell, Director of Communications at the Human Rights Campaign, told ABC News in a statement, "The Constitution isn't a privilege reserved for the few. Okay? It guarantees basic rights to all. Transgender people are your neighbors, classmates, family members, and friends, and we deserve the full protection of our nation's laws, not anti-American nonsense from the White House." Wait for it. Quote, "If rights can be stripped from one group simply because of who they are, they can be stripped from anyone," Powell said. Dogs and cats are sleeping together. The Human Rights Campaign agrees with us. Good Lord above. If you done goofed. You done goofed on this one. All right. Let's keep on trucking on. Thank you guys so much for the hearts, the emojis, the chats, the comments, everything. You guys are amazing. Likes, shares, comments. Let's get it. Here it is. The post from FPC. Let me zoom in for you guys because I love you emotionally, probably more than I should. We're in this together, guys. From Firearms Policy Coalition. The D.C. Court of Appeals today upheld the district's under 21 gun ban, saying that, quote, "Assuming without deciding that 18 to 21-year-olds with no criminal history are part of the people that the Second Amendment protects, they do not have the right to purchase, possess, or carry guns." Okay, listen, court system, just keep on stacking it up. Keep on stacking up the stupid, which makes you discriminate against individuals who can enter into mortgages, they can enter into marriages, they can enter contracts, licenses, they can go into the military, they can do all the things adults can do, they can vote, they can do everything, but they can't have that gun right. Please, by all means, keep on stacking the evidence of your stupidity while we go further in the judicial system. That's honestly the way I feel about it. And by the way, if you guys feel that way too, hit that like button and subscribe because the cutting edge is right here, baby. Let me show you these documents because we got so much freedom to distribute. It's ridiculous. All right, here we go. This is for the District of Columbia Court of Appeals. As you can see, Layton versus United States. This stuff is just the precursor. This is the good stuff right here. So this guy, I'm not going to go down all of the individual charges because frankly, I don't care except for this little part right here. Here is what he was charged with, which brought him into this argument. Actually, you guys can't really see that. I'm just going to read it for you. 1 count each of aggravated assault while armed, assault with a dangerous weapon, assault with significant bodily injury while armed. Okay, those are all criminal charges. I get it. Carrying a pistol without a license. Don't get that one. Don't get that one. My rights, your rights, our children's rights, the next generation's rights dependent on a license, basically asking for permission for a right. That's not cool. Possession of an unregistered firearm, federal law. You can't register a firearm. That's great. And unlawful possession of ammunition. This must be in D.C. So we're going down licensure, registration, and possession of ammunition. By all means, let's keep this stupid going. All right. He wanted him to basically say this is unconstitutional. Of course, it makes sense. Let me read you this little piece right here. First, Mr. Layton contends that we must vacate his convictions for carrying a pistol without a license, possession of an unregistered firearm, and unlawful possession of ammunition, which he should, on the ground that the district statutes requiring that an applicant be at least 21 years old to obtain a firearm registration or license violate the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. They do. He's right. We hold that the district's age-based firearm registration and licensing statutes are constitutional. Wait for it. Because they are consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Now, that's the Bruin test right there. That's the satisfaction for the Bruin decision. The thing that they hated so much because they weren't, quote, historians in the court, they find ways to just make it up. That's what they did. Wait, no, I'll show you the examples. That's why I've got this stuff pulled up. That one doesn't really matter. The second one, I don't care about that one. They basically said, no, you can't do it because that's not, you basically don't get you don't win. That's what they basically said. So here we go. For the same reasons, we see no constitutional infirmities with the district's age-based firearm registration and licensing statutes. Really? History reveals a regulatory tradition of restricting access to firearms based on age for those considered to lack the judgment and discretion to use them safely. But they can vote. Hey, you want to do this? Here's a crazy one. Let me hear you guys in the comments on this one. Why don't we raise the voting age to 21? If that's the legal adult, and that's how we get around all these infringements to 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, why don't we just raise the voting age to 21, the legal adult age to 21? That way, we don't have to worry about these pesky lack of judgment and discretion, especially when voting. You know, since 18, 19, and 20-year-olds vote heavily left. Just an idea. Asking for a friend. All right, here we go. The case. So it's in italics here, Bondi, that's the case. Involved restrictions on the ability of 18 to 21-year-olds to purchase firearms and therefore relied, in part, on common law limitations on the right of those under 21 to contract. Their historical reference that they're bringing in to satisfy Bruin is because there were historical restrictions on contract law. That's the big thing. You got to find a historical reference point to gun control in the earlier eras to satisfy it, the historical tradition. So they went with contract law. What? It's very similar when they go with surety laws. They'll just do anything. They're just going to twist their arm as much as they can, which I'm perfectly fine twisting their arm too. It's just going to take time. Just like Novocaine, it always works. Let's keep on going. But the right to keep and bear arms surely implies the right to purchase them. This is the timeline we're in. Accordingly, a restriction on the ability of those under 21 to purchase firearms necessarily implicates their ability to possess and carry them. Well, no shit. Good Lord. The historical tradition of restricting the purchase of firearms by individuals under 21 is therefore a historical analog relevantly similar to laws regulating the ability of those under 21 to possess or carry firearms. Because regulations preventing those under 21 from purchasing firearms are constitutional, so too are restrictions preventing those under 21 from possessing and carrying them. That part's why I left this in. They just showed you the Achilles heel of this entire thing. Let me read that last part again. Because regulations preventing those under 21 from purchasing firearms are constitutional, so too are restrictions preventing those under 21 from possessing and carrying them. First of all, they're wrong in that statement, but it shows you the Achilles heel, that thread of the sweater that you just pull and the entire thing evaporates. Because regulations preventing those under 21 from purchasing firearms are constitutional. You know the NRA has a lawsuit right now, I believe it's Glass is the name, that is challenging the 18, 19, and 20-year-old bans in Florida. There's multiple different lawsuits across the entire nation that are going against that. Yeah, okay. Well, your way or the highway, whatever. But that's where we're at with this. They basically just decided that 21-year-olds can't have, or 18, 19, and 20 adults can't have their rights, which I think is incredibly stupid. And the one thing that I will also say, Can we also have laws that prevented people from the beginning under 21 from voting? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we're on the same page with that. 100%. Simone says, so 2026 is the new 1776. Yes, but not in the same way. That's an incredibly important thing. I'll come back to that. It's all about a cultural revolution versus a physical. That's where we are. We are actively in the middle of that. That's why I'm doing the second press over here. That's the entire impetus behind this program. This movement that we're doing, we're partnering and working together. It's all about the cultural war that we're basically promulgating and we're pushing forward. That's a very astute assessment. It's not a hot revolution, but this is absolutely a cultural revolution that is happening. You are taking part in it. You just don't see it yet because you aren't looking in the rearview mirror. You are actively taking part in it right now. That's why I have this whole thing. Looking for the right people, and I know they'll get here. All right, this last little piece. I wanted to show you this in my earlier video about the whole Tim Kaine, rights come from the government, not from God, that whole really weird thing. I wanted to show you this segment because it shows you all he said on the outside of the high level. It shows you the details of what he thinks of our Constitution and our constitutional republic. Listen to this. He's comparing us to the following. Here we go.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the Creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their Creator. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
And this is why I brought this up, and this is how I'll probably wrap this whole episode, this whole live. I'll look at the chats here in a second. Kaine is an idiot, I agree. Tim Kaine, senator from Virginia. But he said something right there that was really important. So in his little dialogue around the theocracy of Iran and where they go with killing people and where they go with, all the heinous acts that they do, the non-humanitarian things that they do, all the egregious abuses of humanity that they do, then compares with the United States because, obviously, naturally, why wouldn't you? You're a sitting Democrat senator. But then he says something really important. They do all of that because of their understanding of natural rights. Now, the really big important part about that is he is drawing a direct equivalency to our version of natural rights and the Iranian ideal of natural rights. Now, don't keep in mind, it's like comparing an apple to a pomegranate or an apple to a banana. But, let's not get reality in the way. You're talking about a full-on theocracy that is ruled by a supreme ayatollah and a leader. You are not talking about a governing body in Iran that is ruled by a democratic process with constitutional representation, which has an entire Bill of Rights, which is a restraint on the government of what it can actually do and it's a little different than a theocracy, you idiot. But don't worry, he's still going to get elected because he's in Virginia and, woohoo. But that's the important part. And then he compares the natural rights, because what do we talk about on our gun rights all the time? Natural rights. It's part of our natural rights, being humans, animals. Like that's us. Like our rights as citizenry. It's a natural right. He's comparing all the things that we hold dear to an Iranian theocracy. Don't know how I'll get that worse than that. But anyway, that's what I wanted to show you guys. I've got some other stuff. I'll keep that for tomorrow coming out of Tennessee. Make sure you guys check out Second Press. There's a link in the description box below. I'm going to jump over into in the chat over here real quick. USSF Phoenix says Bill of Rights makes Americans at 18 adults and right to vote. Correct. And here's the thing. Again, I'll say this one more time in case you guys are coming in on the back end. If they want to raise the age of adulthood or majority to 21, let them raise it to 21. Let them have that conversation. That's a democratic process. Go ahead. Have at it in the House. But the left will never get on board with it because that takes away from their voter pool. That's it. 18, 19, and 20 is heavily Democrat favoring until, recently when they're all switching. But genuinely, they will not do it. They'll just continue to use court systems to infringe upon those same people. They won't make the final solution of the problem. They'll only make the court ruling so they can get their gun control. That's exactly what they do. But we're going to beat these guys. We're literally going to beat them. We're going to look back in this 20 years ago and say, I was here when we beat them. I mean, honestly, I know it's going to happen. But That's enough of my rabble-rousing this evening. Thank you for burning the midnight oil. You can turn off your coffee pots now. Make sure you guys all have an amazing rest. I'll see you tomorrow when we wrap up the week. We push for our freedom. I love each and every one of you, just the right amount that makes you feel comfortable. I hope you have a stunning, amazing evening. The best Thursday you had this week. And I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden.